ለመማር ወደ ትምህርት ተቋም መሄድ ግድ አይደለም።
ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
ራሳችሁን ከኮሮና ቫይረስ ወረርሽኝ እየጠበቃችሁ በቤታችሁ ወይም በተመቻችሁ ቦታ
በኢንተርኔት አማካኝነት በኦንላይን ትምህርታችሁን መከታተል ይቻላል።
ካናዳ ከሚገኘው ኢንተርናሽናል ኤር ትራንስፖርት አሶሲዬሽን አያታና
ከእንግሊዙ ኢንስቲትዩት ኦፍ ኮመርሻል ማኔጅመንት ICM ጋር በመተባበር የሚሰጡ ትምህርቶችን ተከታትላችሁ በ6 ወር ጊዜ በዓለም አቀፍ ደረጃ ተቀባይነት ያለውን የስልጠና ማስረጃ ባለቤት መሆን ይቻላል።
ከኢትዮጵያ ሲቪል አቪዬሽን ባለስልጣን ሙሉ ዕውቅና ባገኘንባቸው የፍላይት ኦፕሬሽን እና የሆስተስ ስልጠናም በምዝገባ ላይ ነን።
ጥያቄና መልስ፣ የክፍል ስራዎች ብሎም ፈተና መፈተን ክፍል ውስጥ እንዳላችሁ አይነት
ልምድ ባላቸው መምህራን እየተማራችሁ
በኦንላይን ባላችሁበት ቦታ
አድራሻ ከ22 ማዞሪያ ወደ ሾላ ገበያ በሚወስደው መንገድ 150 ሜትር ገባ ብሎ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ
ህልሞን እውን ያደርጋል።
So this evening, if you allow me, I would like to revisit the class that we had the last time on Wednesday last week, where we were looking at market segmentation. What was remaining around that topic was to look at specific things revolving around what we call STP, which is segmentation, targeting, and positioning. And there is an activity that I would like us to address today, so you'll forgive me if we rush a little bit faster than usual, so that we can allow ourselves to do little activity around something we call the marketing segment matrix. So as we go on the discussion, the output of this is to be able to have you guys in your different companies, the organizations to be able to try to understand who your customers are and how they can be put into different segments. You realize that we're spending more time on market segmentation. And this is important because if you allow me, I'll use a simple terminology that market segmentation is more like the mother. In the African context, we all have our mother, so it is the mother of marketing management. Some experts like Philip Kotler would call them, the heart of marketing management, because really, if you miss out on the aspect of marketing management, on market segmentation, then it will be difficult to address other aspects such as the marketing research, because then the information you'll be looking for in the marketing research would feed into the marketing segmentation. So if you allow me, I will quickly just mention that the other time we did mention that market segments or segmentation is taking the whole market. Like the last time we looked at the consumer market and we want to divide it into small sections, which we should be able then to create strategies that can be targeted. The essence or the importance of this is to be able then to understand who our customers are, where are they, then we should be able then to even approach it in a more better way by trying to understand what are they up to, what are their specific needs, how do you try to meet those needs, and therefore, from the point of view of entrepreneurship, we normally argue that you need to provide the customers to exactly what they need. This is in the form of what we agreed the other time as value proposition. So we'll be going back and forth in the discussion, looking at all that, and that's the reason that you'll forgive me if we spend more time looking at this, because I consider this to be a very important area of marketing. Before this class started, in the beginning, I mentioned to you that it's a little company that we operate, and we particularly do a specific type of meats, and we sell them to Middle East, particularly in Qatar and Dubai. And then we had to identify particularly what kind of meat they wanted, what is the size of the market that is there. We needed to understand what time we need to deliver, because we had to understand exactly what their customers wanted. They didn't want anything to do with frozen meat, but they wanted to have what we call chilled. So we had to do some very serious computations on when to slaughter, when to transport it to the airport, when to submit. So the discussion today will be revolving around there. At the end of the discussion, ladies and gentlemen, I will wish that we look at our own products or services that the ones we are dealing with. I realize most of you are in the banks. Then we have those guys who even work in government. And what we shall be doing then would be to look at exactly what services you are providing and how best we can target what we call the marketing mix, the 7 P's that we are shared to specific targets or rather segments in the market. So that is the discussion that I would like us to have this day. And to be able then to do that, I would like us to have a look at this. I know we've spent a lot of time on this, but again, as I said, it is important for us to look at this more critically. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that this is more like a continuation, but the information that we are going to share is a little bit more, should I say, looking at marketing from a point of view that we call the STP, which is segmentation, targeting, and positioning. We need to position our products. We also need to position our organization or companies or business in the market. Okay. So guys still in the waiting room, allow me to admit them. Johannes, Kebebe, okay, fine. Kebebe, sorry. So welcome guys to the class. I know you may want to interact more with the things we are going to share, but I will want to spend more time looking at this. So again, this is more like a continuation, if you allow me to use that word. So again, we are back in last Friday, lesson 6. I will share this with you immediately after the class. I was rushing in to start the class, so you'll forgive me if I was not able to share before the class as we had agreed before. So just a recap of what we had agreed the other time is that we said that segmentation from the point of view of marketing refers to one Johannes waiting in the room. Okay, we have invited that person in. So we were saying that the process of is more like creating clusters within the broader market. So if, for example, you are looking at the financial sector and you are looking at the financial market in Ethiopia, then you likely want to look at the different clusters of people or other customers that you want to serve in a different way. I remember, and I want to appreciate the discussions given at that time, that there would be those people who want to look at, say, Sharia banking, the vis-a-vis conventional banking, others will look at the youth, others will look at the women, others will look at small and the medium-sized enterprises, others will look at, say, equipment and buildings and stuff like that. You can break down your customers in that way. So the reason that we have to do that is to be able to identify these specific market, the right one for various brands. There is no way you'll just go to the general broad market and sell. It won't work. Okay. So the argument here then would be that we want to see this segmentation to be able to devise, ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me, to be able to, some tools I normally use, they have disappeared today. hope I will find one. Yes. So this. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, the whole idea is to be able to do this. Okay. That's the whole reason why we have to do this, to be able to devise and implement relevant strategies to promote the products amongst the target market. So strategies cannot be done for the general market, ladies and gentlemen. It's important for you to break it down so that you are able to target the issues, formulate specific strategies for those specific markets. So then, just purposes of emphasis, we are saying that a market segment consists of individuals. I'd like to underline this, it's critical, who have similar choices, similar interests, and similar preferences. So when you look at the broad market, you will find yourself having people with mixture of all these, but you need them to separate and say, who are these part of the general market who have similar characteristics, which ones specifically like choices, interests, preferences. And normally, and this is interesting for us to understand that it's important, they normally have a way of thinking, which is unique, and of course inclined to certain similar products. So it's up to you to define them and be able to see who they are, understand where they are, then you are able to target your product. So once the business, once you decide what the target market is, then it is important for you to formulate those specific strategies, make plans, and of course this is a key area. Some of you have been trying to talk to me over the week. I've been having many challenges about design thinking in preparing that plan that we agreed you are going to prepare. So we shall revisit that towards the end of the discussion. Please, Moges, you remind me. I have seen quite a number of assignments which have come and they are very good. About 5, 6 there, very good. I know I gave you a timeline, but it's important for us to understand what a target market is. In fact, there is a specific question. One of you asked me on WhatsApp yesterday, and I want to apologize. I was not able to address you. Some of you tried to call me again. I was not able to do that because of a pressure that I had in the hospital. It's sometimes difficult. So really, it's not normal. It's not even right for anyone not to respond to your queries. In any case, I need to treat you not just like you're my student, but you're more of my client. So I apologize for now. I hope you understood. Yes. Anyway, so the whole idea then that I want to emphasize that we break these ones to be able to do what we call right targeting. So we're just saying there that it assists the marketers like yourselves to formulate and execute targeted strategies so that we just don't go preparing strategies. Okay. So in a basic way, ladies and gentlemen, just look at that little chart there. On the top, it describes exactly what we have to go through. The discussion we have had so far is to look at what we call the market segmentation. This, ladies and gentlemen, we've discussed what it is. But again, the next thing that you must do, you just don't create target market for nothing. You have to target that specific market. I should be able to explain that in a short while. And then you position your market in the market in a manner that it is at the top. Because remember, there are competitors out there. You need to position that product in the right position so that you are able to sell properly. So, and I want to emphasize on the blue part of the arrow is we need to decide on the optimal. Optimal, ladies and gentlemen, is being efficient and being very effective. Marketing mix. Efficient means that you are using resources properly, you are more cost effective, Effective means you are able to do what you are supposed to do, okay? Achieve the objectives that you wanted to pursue. So basically in the chart that hangs down there, same thing, but with a little of explanations, we are saying that market segmentation involves identifying bases for segmentation, which we did highlight in the last class, graphic, regional, and stuff like that. Then we need to determine important characteristics of each market segment. Of course, assuming we're able to put them into groups, depending on characteristics that we may choose. I also want to, okay, where is Mesfin? Mesfin Adare, please mute your microphone. Or you want to unmute you as well? Okay, fine. What is happening? I have unmute. Okay. Please don't unmute yourself for now. I will allow you to do that at the right time. Then we also want to say that market targeting involves certain things. Basically, we want to evaluate potential and the commercial attractiveness of that segment. Because even if you are to divide it, it may not make business sense in terms of profit. Does it make sense to serve that market or not? Because at the end of the day, we want to look at the interest of the stakeholders, mainly the people that we call owners of the enterprise, who we normally appreciate them by giving them returns to their investment. So the question that comes in is the segment that you have chosen profitable? If it is not, just drop it without really thinking about it so hard. How easy is it for you to access or to reach that market? If you are doing, my colleagues who were in the other class that we had in the last semester, we said that it is possible for you to approach the market in terms of what we call export orientation. So you might identify a very attractive market, say in the UK, in which you want to say supply certain commodities, but is it accessible? Can you reach it? And even if you are to do that, how easy is it? How profitable is it? So then we want to say market targeting, we need to look at the size of that segment. How big is it? How large is it? Can you serve it profitably? Again, that is why we're talking about commercial attractiveness. I don't know if you can see that. Of each of them, after you've segmented them, and then of course, we are talking about easiness of access or reaching it. Okay. Now moving on, we want to also say that part of these strategies, you need them to develop, you need to either position a product and your company in a way that is also profitable. So what we are saying in a nutshell, under product positioning, we'll be discussing that in detail in a short while, is we need to develop a detailed product position for selected segments. Remember in the earlier one, we're just segmenting them, but now we want to go into the details of serving that market. So once we've evaluated it or assessed it rather, in terms of size, profitability, and ease of access or reach, then we need them to try to put our product in a position which is better than competitors. Okay, so that is an aspect, ladies and gentlemen, that we will want to address. Okay, so we need to develop a detailed product positioning for selected segments. We are not serving all the segments, but the ones that we have selected on the basis of the criteria that I had earlier mentioned. Then we also need to develop a marketing mix for each of the segments. This is the essence of this course. That is why I want to emphasize, ladies and gentlemen, that at the end of this is whatever we are doing, to be a good marketing manager, you should be able to look at your marketing mix. If you remember the 7 P's that we had shared, so that we are able then to create an efficient, optimum use of the resources that we have at our hands in terms of your human resource, in terms of other aspects that you may want to use. Okay, so if you allow me, if you have a question, kindly just take it down, write it somewhere, and then we shall share when we finish this discussion. Now, in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, this is how it looks. Okay, you have, I don't know, mine looks a bit milky, but should be able to look at the whole discussion of STP from number 1, 2, and 3. So number 1 there is about segmentation. And this one we've discussed it a lot. So you need to identify, as it were, the basis for segmentation and determine the vital characteristics of each. Sorry, something which is okay, good. I'm saying that under segmentation, in a nutshell or in summary, we want to say that segmentation involves identifying the basis of doing the segmentation. We have either to, since the time we were discussing, mentioned that you can do demographic, you can do psychographic, you can do geographic, as we had said before, amongst other characteristics, so that you are able then to do that. So identify the basis, then determine, let's meet somebody there, okay, and determine the vital characteristics of each segment. As I said earlier, at the end of the class, we should be able to try to do a basic or a simple matrix, segmentation matrix on the basis of those, okay? Then secondly, you need to do targeting, as I said before. So you need again to evaluate the commercial value and the potential of your segment. That means you have to look at the profitability. If you are to serve those segments as they are, what is the return on investment for the company? So select one segment. That's the whole idea of targeting. So once you have evaluated the commercial value in terms of profits, I said the size, ease of reach. Of course, you can find a market which is attractive, it can make profit, but it can be so complicated to reach, so you will incur more cost. So you need to look at the cost of reaching that market and stuff like that. Then select one, of course, or more segments select one segment to be your main focus. And of course, you can choose the other. So we are not saying you choose all the segments, but once you are able to evaluate, so that is the essence of targeting, then you are able then to select one of those segments that will give you the best, what Hansoff calls the stars, the cash cow. So you start from the cash cow and look at other stuff, other issues. There are those which have a great potential. So you just don't drop it completely, but you look at them in terms of whether they can meet a good criteria of the stars. If you remember the model of Hansoff. If you have not familiar, you will please spend time to look at it. It's very interesting for you if you are in business. Then lastly, you need to position. So we're saying at that stage, if you look at that model, you develop a detailed plan for positioning your product or service in those segments that you've chosen. So you have the main segment, and then you have those other segments. Cash cow, the dogs, if you remember that model, the stars and stuff like that. If you are not familiar with it, I will try to share with you at a later stage. It's called the Hansoff's model. Now, if you look at positioning, it actually addresses the essence of this course completely. That's why I'm spending time to look at this. Because the essence of this course is to enable you to look at, therefore manage your marketing very well by developing a marketing mix which will give you the best advantage for each of those segments. So again, I know this is boring, we've repeated it many times, but segmentation falls in a larger marketing strategy, commonly known as STP. We talked about it being segmentation, targeting, and positioning. So all these issues that we're saying is we are moving forward from what the course wanted us to do, which is to only look at segmentation, but we also move on the discussion into targeting and positioning. Luckily, it is part of the discussion in topic 3 and 4. So when we reach there, we'll be moving a little bit fast. So in simple language, we're saying that segmentation involves choosing which market to serve or which part of the market is most attractive. Okay. Secondly, I want to say that targeting involves targeting, of course, looks at what segments should the company focus. Of those segments that you have identified, which one should you focus on? Okay, because you cannot focus on everything. So which segment should the business enter? That's the big question. If you had, like you have identified on the basis of a good evaluation, a segment, say A, B, or C, then the question would be, which one is the most attractive for you? So you just don't go entering all of them, but you choose the one that is best for you. We shall see, using a criteria in a later stage of this discussion, which of them all is the best. Okay. Then positioning, we've said this before, just to reiterate, we're saying you need to make a decision on how best you can serve those customer segments that you've chosen when you are targeting in number 2. So when you do that, you should be able then to look at your product and then differentiate them. Make them different for each segment, because there is no way, for example, if you're a banker and you are serving customers in, say, you want to serve the SMEs the same way you are selling credit, for example, to, say, the large corporations. The way you will sell to, say, women, it will be different products from the ones of men. You can you can also look at the market for the elderly and the ones for the young people. They are all different. You don't mix them up and sell. So you need to differentiate your product in a nutshell. That, in essence, that is what we want to say. Once you're able to do that, then the question should be, how do customers see the product of your company? So in positioning, you will need to understand, ladies and gentlemen, how do the customers see your product? Do they see them as of a low quality? Is it cheap? Is it a luxury product? Is it a necessity? Okay, so this one will inform the way you are going to apply your marketing mix. Okay. Again, as you continue looking at this, please just write down the questions. You should be able to address that at the end. This is becoming boring now, but again, let's just for a recap, because I told you before, there are things that have identified which are new, which definitely we need to improve. My intention, ladies and gentlemen, at this stage is to increase, they say, the level of awareness, increase your knowledge level so that we can improve your competencies in marketing. So again, I said you will forgive me because today we are more like rushing you. So a recap again of the discussion we had last time. We're saying, of course, segmentation is just identifying the parts of the market which you would like to serve effectively. Want to divide these markets, the main market, into unique customer needs or wants. Rather, we want to divide that huge market, be able then to, looking at the needs and wants of the customers, then we divide the market in terms of, the main market into bits and pieces of that, so that we can develop niche markets, so that we can develop target markets and stuff like that. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that the segment should reflect certain characteristics which we shared in our last class, the one that we actually attended and participated in: demographic, geographic, income levels, behavior, and stuff like that. These are the basis of doing the segmentation. But why do we do that? What is the benefit of doing that? I'd like you to take a minute to look at what is on your right-hand side, I believe, the presentation. So the main benefit is obviously to be able to focus our resources. Remember, I don't know whether we have economists in this group. and economics, of course, is I'm sure is something that you've come across many times in your lives. Whether we use the language of economics or not, we know that resources are limited. Normally say resources are limited. There is no time resources is enough. There is no time you will be accessible to a lot of resources in terms of money, in terms of human resource, in terms of equipment, all those. If you remember the what Adam Smith said as the factors of production. When you look at them, they are normally finite. You cannot have a situation where you have a lot and excess of such. So based on that, also companies, including the ones that you guys work for, have a problem with that quantity of resources that they can available or rather access or rather available to them. So we want to do segmentation because we want to focus those resources to the markets that we want to serve profitably. Okay. So we want to look at those markets that we can succeed. So parts of the market that we can succeed, so that we just don't look at the market and say we are producing this product A to serve the Ethiopian market. There is no such thing like the Ethiopian market, but there are segments within that large market of that product or service that you want to sell. So to be able to succeed, then you need to focus those resources so that you don't spread them so thin on the ground that their effectiveness is reduced. Secondly, we're saying that looking at segmentation, we need to do that to be able then to accurately create or craft the marketing mix strategies. So we need to devise and deploy the most effective marketing mix. So once we've understood that the resources that is accessible to us is not necessarily enough or in excess, then we need then to look at ourselves and ask certain questions. How do we look at promotion? How do we look at price as part of the marketing mix? How do we look at place? How do we look at the other piece, physical evidence, and stuff like that? So of those 7 P's, we shall be using them to develop a good marketing mix, which we are able then to serve. I want to highlight this because it is important to a marketing manager to be able to devise or craft or formulate. I don't know which word you can associate with very easily. The whole idea is to create those strategies that you can use effectively. Okay, so I want to also say, and this is the information that I thought I wanted to add to what we already have, is that we want to create opportunities to grow our market share. Should not have been market shares, okay, but the market share. So if, for example, you are serving the broad Ethiopian market at say 10%, if you are banned, is there a way that you can expand that to grow to 30%, to 40%, to 50%? I know of companies which, for example, in the telecommunications market, in this country, we have, in Kenya, we have a company called Safaricom Limited, which is controlling well over 60% of the telecommunications market. They do provide what you call mobile services. They do internet connectivity, but they also serve what we call money transfers using the mobile phone. We call it here M-Pesa. This same company, I'm told, I saw an article in one of the Ethiopian dailies indicating that they have applied for a permit. I don't know whether they will be successful or not, but they are very good in marketing. So for them, I don't know that I should hold this, but they sell their products at a premium price. They are normally very expensive, but they give you a very high quality, reliable product. So the thing that I want to address here is that, can you create opportunities to grow market shares? That's the question. So here you want to ride the wave of the fast growing segments. Remember before I said that there are those segments which are small and have a lot of potential. Then you have those which are large, we call them cash cows, very profitable, but we do not know whether we are able to serve them for a very, very long time. So then that creates a serious issue for us because we need to appreciate the fact that that market may not be existing forever. So you want to ride on those ones to be able to grow. You want to look at those fast growing segments. So we say we ride on them, the wave that. But of course, that will not continue forever. So as you are riding on this, you are also looking at smaller segments which you want to grow over time. So again, we want to say that it helps with new product development. Why is that? When you focus on a market segment and you realize that your product is appreciated, but it has some weaknesses, it has some gap, then there's a likelihood that the customers within that segment will tell you that if this product can be improved in this way, they will like it more, they will appreciate it, they will buy or consume more. So we want to say that by segmenting the market, putting them into small sections, then you're able then to look at the needs of those customers and then develop the product. So that the same product can be exactly the same product you are selling in, say, segment A, and those customers in segment B tell you they would prefer it in this way. Say the youth would prefer it in a certain color, in a certain form, and stuff like that. Then you develop that product in a way that will meet the needs of that particular market segment. Moving on, we're going to look at the drawbacks. What is the disadvantage of doing that? And the challenges rather, not disadvantage. The biggest of them all is normally information is not readily available. This is a big challenge, as we realize in a short while when we give you that little activity. Information is not ready. That's why we're saying that segmentation or market segmentation is an imprecise science, because most of the time you lack information, sometimes it's not available at all, so it's difficult. So when you do the market segmentation, you will likely do it in a situation where you lack information. And of course, and this one is common sense, markets always change. So as they change, and they change so fast because of many factors, one of them, the key one being globalization, then you may do your market research now, do the segmentation, and then later on you realize that something happened within 4 or 5 months. That's a very long time in a market, things would have changed. Now, there are certain things about it that we want to look at now in terms of, again, the first S is segmentation, the second one is T, which is targeting or target market. So there is an impression there of one arrow hitting the bullseye. I don't know how many of you play that. So again, we've said this, that you segment your market. You could have done it in terms of geography, in terms of graphic factors. You could have looked at it in terms of demography, regional, and stuff like that. And you are comfortable that that market you have identified is out there. Now you need to target it now. You pick the ones that are best for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the white writing on your left side, we are talking about a target market is a group of customers within a business serviceable available market at which a business aims its marketing efforts. Okay, so we've said, of course, after segmentation, you are picking the target here, that it is a part of the total market for a product or service. And basically, it's looking at what customers share. So you can do this by looking at it in 2 ways. You can target your market by looking at what we call a concentration strategy. You can either apply concentration or differentiated kind of strategy. So as you're looking at that up there, you realize that the target, sorry, something is happening. Okay, sorry. So as we were saying, when you're looking at these strategies, there is this that we are calling concentrated strategy. And this one, you are looking at a single segment strategy. So one market segment, only one, not the entire market. You just pick one of them and then you concentrate there. Okay. So a single, if you look at this, let me try to underline for you there, sorry. The reason I was not able to do fine art or something, I can't even draw a straight line. So anyway, a single segment approach often is the strategy of choice for smaller companies with limited resources. So what we're saying is that after doing the segmentation and you've decided to look at one of the segments, say you've picked, say a market of borrowing from the idea of Mohammed in the last class, he said that if you are a banker, you can easily target or look at a situation where you're only addressing a part of the market and you focus on. For example, some banks are focused on what we call Sharia banking, or rather they say Islamic banking in simple words. Others would say we are only looking and serving, as a bank, our idea is to only serve small and medium sized enterprises. Others will still remain at a broad level, general, but differentiate the product in a certain way. So again, I want to emphasize that first strategy is looking at it in terms of a concentrated strategy, which means you are looking at only one single segment. Then you are focusing your resources there, and you are not looking at other segments at all. You leave them. I would like you to write down somewhere because this is interesting. So what happens if you are to do that? You have to look at this, you ask that question. What would happen eventually if you have to do this? Okay, I'd like you to put down that so that we're able to share at a later time. If you are to concentrate on only one single market, what happens to the rest? Who will serve the others? Supposing competitors also target on a very serious note the same segment that you've chosen, what is going to happen? Another issue that I would like you to keep in your mind, in fact, I want to put in the form of an exclamation, is that supposing, as we said before, that target markets are, when you're segmenting them, you're using information which is insufficient, sometimes which is not available. So what's going to happen if you had selected the wrong segment of that, and you are concentrating on it? Okay. Then you have this. Then you have what you call differentiated market, and here you want to select or specialize in several segments. And there, as you're concentrating on those other different segments, you will need then to specialize on certain things. So you differentiate the marketing mixes that you offer for those for those segments. So the product itself may or may not be differentiated. You can still have the same product and you are serving the different segments. Or you could still differentiate the product. So we want to say that you can have the target and then differentiate it in terms of your product. So you may want to differentiate. You may also want to look at the price. Find a way of differentiating it a little bit. You can even differentiate it in terms of the place, the location, or you can look at the manner in which you are going to advertise. So you can differentiate and say that this part of the market, I'm going to use radio. This one, I'm going to use social media. This one, I'm going to use blah, blah, all those. So that is differentiation. Now, so we're saying you can target on the basis of that, but the whole idea is to be able to get the right size, to be able to get a segment which is profitable, and of course, which is easily accessible. By the time we shall be finishing looking at this discussion, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to think about the organization that you serve and tell me whether you are able to differentiate the products in there. Okay. So, so again, I want to say that you need to write down something there and be able to address that in a short while. I'm seeing some guys. I'm going to unmute you again, Mesfin. I'm going to unmute guys who are allowed somewhere.
Mouse
Okay. I want to ask those guys who have guys, let's concentrate, please. I'm trying to look at guys who have unmuted their. I'm also muted. Okay, I'm back. So again, ladies and gentlemen, let's see what you guys can do with this. Come back. Okay, so again, let's look at positioning. I'll need to wrap all this. Where's my rubber? We are somewhere here. So again, we want to look at positioning. Yeah, okay. So this positioning, ladies and gentlemen, is something that we want to consider. Okay, so positioning then is something that is interesting for us, and then we have to pay a lot of attention. How to compete effectively in the target market. So remember, we need to put our product in a place which is better than competition. Unless you are serving in a monopoly market, it will be very difficult for you to serve your customers very well if you are not able to to look at your product, look at your competition, and that's the essence of what we call the matrix that we want to say. So you need to understand the value proposition which you are giving to your customer so that you are able then to say, I'm giving my customer something unique or different from what the other competitors are doing. So position the product in the market based on certain things. We're talking about value proposition, and of course, you need to look at your competitors. But interestingly, we also need to map the position of your product. I don't know whether you're able to look at, I was not able to draw for you, but something very easy. Is working in late. Not able to wrap this, but again, anyway, don't worry about that. So we're saying that on the basis of what we call a map, I know we'll write a lot of things there. If you have something, sorry, that one was a pen. If you have, if you want to position a market, for example, you need to look at certain things. For example, if you are in looking at what we call the business of, say, you are looking at vehicles. That is that's coming into my mind. Then you can have something in the basis of luxury. That allow me to write it luxury. Then others will want to look at the economy of the car. How is it good when it comes to use of fuel? Then you also want to look at the performance of that vehicle. If you call that fuel use, how good is it? How do you use your fuel? I mean, how does the car use fuel? Then here you can also have somewhere here, not comfort. If you want to look at comfort on the other side. So if you are to pick if you are in a business of selling vehicles, then you need to look at it from that point of view: luxury, economy, performance, comfort continuum. Then you try to place yourself. Do you want to only serve those customers who are interested in luxury? Do you want to be somewhere where you're only looking at cheap vehicles which are good in economy? What about issues to do with performance? What about issues to do with comfort? Or do you want to find yourself in a situation where you are serving somewhere in between here, or somewhere there, or somewhere there, or even here? So your segmentation then would be interesting because you want to look at all those things. Then I want to say again that looking at those, you want to ask yourself simple questions. Does the product, do you want to look at price, for example? So you can position it yourself in terms of price. You want to serve only those people who are looking at luxury. So your prices could be very high. Or do you want to remain at a low price? What about quality? Do you want to look at a high quality or low quality part of the segment? What about the volume, quantity of the product that you are selling? Do you want to do a large quantity? For example, right now during the era of COVID-19, some customers would prefer to buy something in bulk so that when they go home, they don't have to come back to visit your enterprise all the time. Is it a necessity or luxury, as it were? Okay. So are you going to serve those customers who are keen in looking at luxury? Is it light in weight or heavy? Those are questions that you will need to ask yourself in terms of your product. Is this something that is so heavy, bulky, and stuff like that? Do you want to serve a market, rather provide a very simple thing or complex? I am aware that right now you will find people who are keen in looking at products which are healthy. Others don't care. about whether the product is healthy or not. You can also look at it in terms of whether it's high tech or low technology and stuff like that. So when you are looking at all these, you need then to position yourself in a manner that you are creating what we call a competitive advantage. You need to do something that is better than what your competitors are currently doing. So that is why I want to emphasize on this, that at the end of the day, you want to create a competitive advantage. Since the customers you've chosen for those products is based on what we call value proposition. What value are you creating for them? So at the end of the day, you need to provide the most superior value. I want to repeat, the most superior value for your customers than your competitors. This is what I want to say. Let me use an eraser. Sorry, an highlight. The wrong things today. I've just come from seeing somebody in hospital, so you'll forgive me. Let me use a pointer. So I want to say this, that you need to do certain things when you are positioning your product. You create a map in which you are creating what we call the most superior value. It can be a value in terms of price. It can be in terms of quantity, quality, luxury, whatever it is, high technology, low technology. But at the end of it, you need to provide it better than your competitors. If you cannot be able to do this, then you can never be able to create a competitive advantage. What is this thing that you can do better than your customers? Then there are 4 things there that I've tried to emphasize. There are 4 things there. I know it's jumbled up with my writings. I will be able to delete them in a short while. Then we are saying there are 4 possible positioning strategies. Number 1, you can be able to offer more for less. You know that you understand that. So you can give a value to your customer by giving more of a product at a lower price. So good quality at low price. Of course, this is difficult because when you're giving a good quality, it should be associated with a high price because it will cost you more to produce a good or a service of high quality, definitely. But still, it's an option that you can choose to position yourself to say that company A or business A always produces products of a high quality and they sell at a lower price. That is number 1 there. The second one is you can offer more for more. Okay, so you're selling very high quality product for a very high price. Or let me just put it in a simple way: good quality, high price, or even a much higher price. The markets are very interesting. If you are to produce something and sell it at a certain price, even if the product is of high quality, I want to pause there. Even if the product is of high quality and you make a mistake of selling it at a low price, some customers will not like it. They will associate low prices with a low quality. So this is something which is sensitive that you have to pay a lot of attention as a marketing manager. So you need to offer, sometimes you can offer more for high price, and the people will associate your product as of good quality. It is interesting, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes even for yourself, and this is a good question. If you were to apply for a job in a certain company and they ask you, what do you want us to pay you? Then one of you would say, I would like to be paid 10,000 Ethiopian birr a month. Another guy would say, I would like to be paid 300,000 Ethiopian birr a month. If you are in the panel, what will cross your mind? This guy who is asking for more will likely be very confident about himself or herself, and therefore will be quoting higher price for what they can do. So that's it's an interesting question. So when you look at the price, it is normally associated with quality. Higher price, high quality. So you can do, again, I want to repeat, you can do more in terms of quality. You can do more for more. That is what I want to say. For example, high price luxury products with prestigious value. Look at, for example, a car seller or a seller of cars like Mercedes-Benz. I know some of you are driving those, or those high-end vehicles. Sometimes they are of prestige value, so you need to sell them at a high price. Again, you can even do more for the same price. So again, here is interesting because you can introduce better performance, better or new features in products, but you don't change the price. So look at it this way. You offer more for the same, okay? Don't change the price, but you are giving more for the customer. You can also do less for less. Sorry, less for much less. Less for much less, okay? So low cost flight, for example, cheaper hotels, or rather what we call back to basics. And right now in many economies, people are looking at that. No luxury, but you want to provide higher prices, okay? So, we've looked at STP. If you notice what we've done so far, we have looked at segmentation. We've looked at target, that's our T, and then we are also looking at sorry, positioning. I hope it is understood.
በትምህርት ከፍ ብሎ መብረር ይቻላል። ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ከከፍተኛ ትምህርት አግባብነትና ጥራት ኤጀንሲ ሙሉ ዕውቅናን ባገኘንባቸው በማስተርስ ዲግሪ ኤምቢኤ በስትራቴጂክ ማኔጅመንት፣ ኤምቢኤ በባንኪንግ እና ፋይናንስ፣ ኤምቢኤ በቢዝነስ ሊደርሺፕ፣ ኤምቢኤ በሪስክና ኢንሹራንስ፣ ኤምኤስሲ በኢንተርናሽናል ትሬድ እና ኢኮኖሚክስ ዘርፎች በእውቀት ለመቅረጽ የበቁ ፕሮፌሰሮቻችን አረንጓዴ መብራታቸውን አብርተዋል። በነገራችን ላይ በኬንያ ሀገር ከሚገኙ ስመጥር ዩኒቨርሲቲዎች በሚመጡ ፕሮፌሰሮች የትኩረት መስክ ትምህርቶቹ መሰጠታቸው ልዩ ያደርገናል። በምርጥ የትምህርት ስርዓት የተገነባው ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ በመጀመሪያ ዲግሪ በአቪዬሽን ማኔጅመንት፣ በሆቴል ማኔጅመንት፣ በአካውንቲንግ እና ፋይናንስ፣ በማርኬቲንግ ማኔጅመንት አስተማማኝ ትምህርት ይገቢውና ራስዎንና ሀገሮን ይለውጡ። አድራሻ 22 አደባባይ ወደ ሾላ በሚወስደው መንገድ ላይ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ህልሞን እውን ያደርጋል።
I want to go back and probably create an opportunity for you guys to ask a question if you have. Then you can look at the steps of doing the positioning. So I've moved to that big screen there. I want to allow you guys to ask questions, and I want to unmute all of you. So please get ready. Make sure you're not in a noisy place. If you have a question, I have unmuted all of you. Anyone with a question, probably? Anyone with a question, please, you raise up your hand and continue. No one? Silashit, please. Silashit, sorry. Proceed. You know, Sila is a name in my small community, meaning something that I will tell you on by yourself. So, are you able to unmute yourself? Okay.
Okay. Yes. Really, I have a question on segmentation.
Yes.
On the practice of segmentation.
Yes.
Is it really always important to have segmentation these days? While in segmentation, we will measure group interests. Nowadays, companies are willing to satisfy and willing to measure individual satisfactions and group satisfaction or segment satisfaction. So is it always important to have a segmented market than individual? Because companies can measure and they are willing to satisfy individual than segmenting in group. Or
do you have probably an example that you want to relate?
In some texts, I've read that these days the marketing philosophy goes to individual satisfactions. So individuals, every customer, every person's satisfaction is going to be measured rather than segmenting in group, because they want to value individual customers rather than valuing group interests.
Thank you.
If so, is it always important to have segmentation as far as the companies can value and can satisfy individual customers?
That's a good question, but I want to throw back to the team who can answer. Silishit. His argument is that companies would rather look at individual satisfaction of customers rather than segmenting them into groups. That's what you're asking, I believe. Why is it that these companies want to serve the needs of specific, rather individual customers rather than looking at the segment? And we've said earlier, if you still remember, we said that if you wanted to focus your resources properly, and then of course, let me just put it broadly that it is not possible for a company to serve every individual customer. The reason being that it is so expensive. Unless the company is small and it is looking at serving a very small part of the market, then it would be unique. Otherwise, it can be very complicated to serve individuals. So if you wanted to focus the resources, as we said earlier, then you lead them to segment. You have you really don't have a choice, because as we said, resources are not always available to do everything. That's the complication that we have. If it were that you can have individual salesmen, individual promotion techniques going to an individual, then it can be easy. But as it is, unless, of course, I know at the end of the day, and if you look at the discussion that we had before when we were looking at what we call the consumer market, we talked about individuals in the market. But it would be easy for you to then pick those individuals and try to see which ones in this market have similar characteristics in terms of preferences, in terms of interest, so that you are able to target your resources there. It would be cheaper, should we say optimal use of resources if we were to do that, than if we were to sell to individual customers. This is a debate that we will need to take up. I will raise it in the form of a small task. Getachu's hand is up. Let me allow him to say something. I'm unmuting you. Dunya, yes?
Yes, thank you. Welcome back, Doctor. So
thank you so much.
Just to reflect on the issue raised by our classmate, as I quote it, it is like marketing without segmentation is shooting on the moving mass. You can address some of the moving masses, but it's not wise to operate business without targeting, without being focused. For example, you can serve. You are expected to serve everyone. If you are, for example, a public servant, like in basic education across Ethiopia, the basic education should serve equally, and it may not require per se some segmentation. The same holds true for basic service, health service, and someone can go without segmentation because it is a basic service. But for business, for companies to survive, it must be run or done through appropriate segmentation. Even it's not mere segmentation. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Garachu. Going to, muting you. Anyone else with a different point of view?
Can I say something, Doctor?
Yes, please, Natne.
Just, whenever we think of making market or, establishing any organization, it's, for profit, especially in the case of consumer market, it's obvious that, we want to get some profits. So if we plan to get that profits, we should segment the market. Otherwise, there is no business, or there is no any company can do for each and individual customer. If that's the case, it's not a business company. So no company established for one person or one or two persons. So we plan to serve the community, and because of the resources, we should segment and also target, and finally we should position our product. So this is the way how to do marketing, especially this is marketing as a whole. We should segment. Otherwise, without segmentation, there is nothing at all, especially in business area. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I come in, Doctor? Can I come in, Mohammed?
Yes, Mohammed, please. That's the last one, and then we can move on. Thank you.
Thank you. Just my question is that on the issue that you raised in the middle, like the portfolio matrix, the BCG portfolio matrix, which is like the market share, which is related with the market share. Is there any method that a company employee like to make segmentation beyond these issues, beyond expanding market? Is there any reason to select segments beyond like the cash cow or the dog issues?
Just us and the rest. Okay. Mohammed is raising a very interesting thing, which I don't know whether it's familiar with everybody, the BCG model by Ansoff, where products in a company is normally distributed into, Mohammed, if you still remember, in 4 ways. Let me search for it online, and then I can share with some of you, because I think BCG model, let me see whether I can get it quickly. BCG model. I'll just get the image. I have found it. Let me see whether I can share with you BCG model. There it is. Okay, let me now see whether we can share screen. This BCG model here. So somebody wants me to sign up. Let me throw away this one. BCG model is something like this. I don't know whether you're able to see. Share the screen. This one. It's a little bit small, but if you're able to see there, Mohammed is asking a very interesting question on the right-hand side, the one which looks. Markets, normally you can distribute it. Of course, the BCG model is addressing what you call growth share matrix, not quite in a market segmentation, but it's good for us to be on the same page. So you can look at the market share on the upper side, you will see low or high. And then on the left side, I hope that you are seeing low and high again, the market growth strategies. Then you will see on the first part where you have a low market growth and you are having what we call a low market share. You have what we call dogs. So we have products that we can classify them as dogs, where you have a small market share and you also have a market growth which is low. On the right side at the top corner, you will find a high market share and you also have a low market growth. These are what we call cash cows. And again, you have products which you can sell quickly. Rather, you can have it has very low market potential, but you have a lot of market share. So you need to take advantage of that kind of scenario. Then you also find yourself in a situation where you have high market growth, but low market share at the time. So we call those question marks. So you ask yourself, what do you do? Okay. Then you have the stars, your products which have the highest market share. And again, it has the low, it has a high market share and it has a high market growth possibilities. That is what Mohammed was raising. Then the question is asking is, how and when do we apply this when you are doing market segmentation? This again gives us an attribute which later on we will need to look at the right time. So again, if you allow me, let me stop that sharing and then we come back to our discussion. So, Mohammed, you brought in a very interesting model for us, although it's coming a little bit early in the discussion, but it can give us a way of segmenting the market, but we will not use the model itself in doing market segmentation, as it were, because it looks at only market share together with the, what we call market growth. So it gives us those two strategies, those two variables that we shall be using in doing the segmentation, on the basis, again, of the things that we said earlier in the discussion when we were addressing ourselves to facts such as geographic. So when you go to geographic, you look at it in terms of whether you have a possibility to grow that market quickly or not. So in the interest of time, and forgive me for rushing you again, let's go back to the discussion that we had. Allow me to quickly move you to the steps of doing this. What are the steps? This again will answer the question that Sileshit raised together with the Mohammed at the end of it. So step number one, determine the need of the segment. I do not want to read all those in details because you're able to read, it's easy for you to do that. So you want to really look at the needs of the customer. So what are the needs of customers and how can you group customers on the basis of those needs? Okay. So you think of these in terms of consumption by customers, or what would each of your customers like to have? So let's look at, for example, you are in the fashion and textile industry. You want to look at the youth in Addis Ababa in the 21st century in terms of fashion? Okay. What would be these textiles or clothing that you will want to provide? I remember seeing a clip sometimes early this year. It's a former musician, international musician from Canada. Her name is Celine Dion. Suddenly she decided to make fashionable clothes for young children, very young children, forget about the youth. Under 5s, under 10s, that's how she was classifying her market. And she's discovered that even when children are young, they are really impressed with fashion. So the question then we would want to address then is, what is the consumption of a section of the market? So for example, in a region, there are many normal restaurants. Ordinary, I wanted to say ordinary, not normal restaurants, where you can just find ordinary foods. In Nairobi, for example, if you allow me to use that example, there is a quick growth, or should I call that mushrooming of Ethiopian restaurants. Why? Okay. Of course, there are the McDonald's of the world, there are fast foods, so on and so on. But what about why is it that people want to provide this food? The Ethiopian kind of food in Nairobi, they are everywhere, just like Italian or Indian or Chinese restaurants. But there is a quick appreciation of Ethiopian food. For example, somebody would talk about it being more healthy, more nutritious, and stuff like that. So the question then would be, you have to understand the needs of the customers in that specific region. So if you find a gap or a need, then you need to provide. So marketers must be able must be very clear about who should be included in the common segment. Of course, you'll be looking at those attributes. Okay. Secondly, once you are able to determine the needs of a segment, then you need to identify the segment and expectations of the customers per se. Okay. So in the first case, you have identified a segment, a group of people who are interested in, say, appreciating certain culinary, like the Ethiopian food, for example, in Nairobi or in London or in New York. Then what is this thing that you can do? So we want to say there that, sorry about that, once you know the need of the customers, you need to identify who will be the customers to choose your product within other offerings. Other offerings, we are talking about products of other competitors. So who are these who likely choose your product? So decide which type of segmentation you are going to use in this case. Is it going to be geographic? Is it going to be demographic? Is it going to be psychographic? Whatever that you may want to use. Okay. So, so once you've decided on that, then you'll be able then to look at the segment and then try to understand what those the group of customers that you want to serve are expecting you to deliver. Then on the basis of that, then you need to create subgroups, pieces, or should I say parts of that segment. You divide it into smaller groups. So ensure that the target market is well defined. That's what is being said there. Then create subgroups within the groups for effective results. Sometimes you can choose a subgroup, and then later on when you come back, you realize that the criteria you used is not effective. So you break it down as far as you can go so that you can see whether it can be a target segment or not. Okay. Then you review the needs of the target audience. So your customers there, look at them, what do they need? So reviewing here means, have you been able to understand them properly or not? So it is essential, ladies and gentlemen, for the marketer, in this case yourselves, to review the needs and preferences of individuals belonging to each segment and sub-segment. Maybe you made some assumption earlier which is not making quite good sense, so you need to do that. So the customers of a particular segment must respond to similar fluctuations in the market and similar marketing strategies. So you change the strategy then because you've been able to put them in a certain group representing a common characteristic, such as gender, for example, age, or whatever it is that you have chosen, or region. Then you're able, then whenever you change your strategy, like you are promoting in social media, then people should be able to appreciate. I mean, the customers in that segment should be able to have similar characteristics or similar needs and preferences. Then it is advisable to name the segment. Okay, so give an appropriate name to each of the segments. It makes implementation easier. So you can give a name and say, I don't know, the regions in Ethiopia, you can divide them into those specific ones, and you can give them on the basis of those. You can do it in terms of region, you can do it in terms of certain attribute that you may choose. You can say the youth in Addis, the elderly in some other region, like that. Then you now develop the strategies. Number 6, you now do a serious job. You know your segment, you know their preferences, you've been able to evaluate those preferences, you understand them, then you devise relevant strategies to promote the brands in each of those segments. So remember, you can't afford to have the same strategies for the same, for all the segments. So you have to devise unique strategies for different kind of segments. Okay. Then you review the behavior. So here what you do is that you look at the behavior of the target audience, try to understand those characteristics that you use them. So reviewing means you are looking at them again, just in case you may want to do some corrections. So here you want to do a detailed study of the target audience, and we're saying that is important, that's essential. Then lastly, you need to see or try to estimate the size of that target market. Is it a population of, say, 1 million in that region, in the segment that I've chosen? Is it in thousands? Is it in hundreds? So you need to collect a lot of information about them so that you are able to understand. Those are just steps. But what is the output of the whole of this? So at the end of the day, when you are doing all these things, what comes out of that kind of procedure? You've done the STP, now you've done the segmentation properly. Then we are saying, and this one comes back to the question that Mohammed raised together with Selisha. We need to then be able to develop certain characteristics, what we call segment variables and categories, so that you're able to choose which customers to be served and what to offer them relating to their respective attributes. We just don't serve, as Mohammed has said, Selisha said, you serve individuals in the market. But sometimes these individuals can be grouped together so that you're able to serve them together. So which attributes create meaningful intersection in the market? That is the question. And then construct a segmentation matrix using the segmentation variables which have been identified and selected. Then you are able then to serve discrete categories each of the customer segments. This is, and I want to say, is the output of all those processes that we've talked about of STP. Segmentation, targeting, and position. We need to draw a table where we are having the characteristics on one hand, and then you are able to see yourself serving in that market. So the market segmentation matrix is an analytical business tool. It is all meant for purpose of analysis. Okay, that allows you, the marketer, to see how various segments have performed or will perform with a set of products. That tool looks something like this. Sorry. So I tried to come up with this earlier, and we want to say, if you looked at this, they are product attributes. or characteristics. There are also market characteristics or attributes. Mohammed talked about the BCG model. So you can look at a product and ask yourself, in terms of the growth opportunities, can that market grow? How fast can it grow? What about, those are the market attributes which are not here, but you can still have them. Let me get a pen. You can have somewhere on this column also, oops, I don't know that I can be able to get a different color, say red. So when we talk, we can have a market, if you allow me to write in short, a market attributes such as share, market share, for now and in the future. You can also have a market in terms of growth potential. How fast can it grow? So as you're collecting data or information about this, you need to look at them in terms of those two. Okay, so what is the current market share? What is the current growth rate of that market? Those are the market attributes. Then you can ask yourself also questions about the product attributes, the characteristics of the product. Is it luxurious? What about the quantity? What about the form or the way it is packaged? What about the price? What about the value proposition that we are giving for the customer? So again, you are looking at those. If we assume that this is your company, so this is self, your company A. That is yourself. It could be the Ethiopian Commercial Bank. It could be the company that you know. Then you have other companies in the market doing the same things. Company B, company C, company D, company F. They can be as many as 100 or 20. Those ones of there are those products which are, can categorize them as substitutes to what you are offering, or they could be exactly the same, or they can be complementary and things like those. So you can make it as complicated as you want. Okay. Let me try to get an eraser. Okay, so you can as well do all that, or you can as well do this. So this is a worked out segmentation of a certain market. You can look at it in terms of the age of the people who use your product. 12 to 18 years, for example. I don't know how this guy was able to categorize this, maybe in terms of, it changes with cultures. 18 to 24, 25 to 34, 25 to 34 years, 35 to 44, 45 to 54. In this culture, it's assumed that anyone over 55 will have a certain characteristic. So you can look at the product and ask in terms of texture of the product. Is it smooth? How rough is it? How have you packaged the product? Maybe the guys over 55 would prefer a certain way of packaging. The younger guys under 12, even if it is the same product, they would rather be packaged in a certain way. What about ratings and reviews in the market of the same product? Look at the advice of, what is this? Somalia, I don't know what that means. The committee, it looks like these are food, but the common ones that you can look at is look at the price, look at alcoholic content. And this one should not be coming up at this time. Health benefits, look at flavor, look at the brand and stuff like that. This is a segmentation of alcoholic beverages done by some consultancy firm. Okay, so again, that of course brings us to the end of that. So I need to stop sharing. For now, And I want to allow you guys to again pose some questions. Then we close. As you are thinking about your question, there is a document that I had come across earlier for all of us. I don't know whether it is still possible to find. So please think about the question you are going to ask so that when you finish, you can pause. Document I'm trying to look for. Toolkit segmentation. Yes, it's here. Let me see whether I can share this. That one. Okay, did you go? It has just disappeared again on me. Anyway, I will share with you on WhatsApp. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are approaching the time to stop. So I want to pause there and ask, are there any issues that we would like to raise? On Friday, we shall move on to look at, I was hoping today I was going to run a bit quickly. We'll be looking at marketing research, which will create information that will feed into this process. So, ladies and gentlemen, are there comments you'd like to make, some questions, some suggestions for today's class? As for Kiros, I've seen you raise your hand. Can you unmute yourself and speak?
Okay, thank you very much for the time we had. I wanted to raise a question regarding the target market strategies. We have already discussed only 2 target market strategies, but I was looking into some kind of documents in our organization which discusses there are also strategies just like integrated marketing, as well as integrated marketing, as well as the market leadership strategy. And this are they the only ones? My question on this one in the first place.
Of course not. Of course not. There are still very many. We only said that you use the information that you get by, you only will develop strategies for your specific target market. But we have not said which of those strategies. We have not reached there. So that on the basis of the classifications of the market, then we'll be able to develop specific strategies on the basis of the marketing mix. And in addition to others, like the one you just raised as, if you wanted to be a market leader, if you wanted to be able to position a company so that you are at the top, what do you do? We are yet to go there. So that's Kiros. We'll go there, don't worry.
Thank you. The second question is regarding the concentrated one. When we focus towards the one point, for example, we do have in our country institution, of course, financial institution. In this institution, in this industry, the financial industry, there is a not bank. It wants, of course, it will have good kind of contribution towards other segments too, but it focuses towards the women, supporting the women, as well as it focuses more of its time towards the women. Therefore, I was thinking, I was having even a perception that it will exploit that area. It will take a very exciting kind of competitive advantage in that women-oriented area. I was thinking that one, but in our discussion, in the previous discussion, we have raised it. It has its own, this concentrated strategy has its own drawback. Is that an importance or the drawback that more? My question is this one. Thank you very much.
I like your question very much. That it's actually a decision that you want to make. You're talking about whether you want to concentrate on a specific segment, and you are mentioning, for example, women. I hope I understood you. So if you are looking at addressing banking needs for women, for example, what is the advantage? What is the disadvantage? It all depends. Let me give you a little example of Grameen Bank. Grameen Bank that was developed several years ago by Mohammed Yunus. And this idea was to be able to serve customers, or rather provide credit, lending to women particularly, and small enterprises for that matter. So if you looked at his way of thinking, he was looking at small enterprise owned by women. Okay, so it is interesting because the question would be that, can you be able to serve that market? But that's a good question for you. Can you be able to serve that market profitably? Even if you are focusing on women and you are a bank, is it possible for you to serve and make money? So it goes back to the question that we raised earlier about the value that you create for your customer. Are you able to provide that value at a superior level than your competitors? Maybe you don't have competitors. So if you have competitors, then you may want to consider looking at that market in an interesting way. Can you be able to serve it profitably? Are they accessible? What is it that you can provide better than your competitors and things like this? So I don't have a straightjacket answer for you, but rather it depends on many things.
Of course, I was looking into the value proposition. Their value proposition says product leadership, competency product. Therefore, their product will focus on the women. Okay? If they do want to focus on the women only, their value proposition will be goes to that one. But I was taking that it has an advantage, but also it might have also a disadvantage. This is my assumption.
Okay. Thank you. Johannes is raising up his hand. Please, it's nice hearing from you. Can I unmute you? Okay, there you are.
I just want to add, like for Nat Bank, I think the basic was like, as an African or as in Ethiopia, it's to empower women.
Yes.
So it's not only for women, but also men are also encouraging to involve. But the basic is like they want to encourage women. So as we know that in Ethiopia also more than 50% of the population are women. So the basic of the Nat Bank is like to encourage these women so that they can face in these banks. So I just want to say that men's also encouraging. I think there are also men's in Nat Bank that's also working. Also, they have also some accounts. So I just want to add these points. It's not only for women. They are all it's women, but it's not only for women. There are also men who are involving in this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I want to say thank you, because I think that you are the first lady who is speaking in the class, and I'm really happy for that. I hope we shall see more discussion. Thank you. Now, you were able to raise a good question about, a good argument that the Grameen Bank, or rather the microfinancing institutions, which were offshoots of that, were focusing on empowering small enterprises. Initially, they were targeting women, but also men now that we do that. Thank you very much. The Masu, is your hand up or is just by, let me unmute you, say something. Okay. That guy has disappeared. Anyone else that we want to say something?
Yes, doctor. Yes, doctor.
Oh, yes, you are up. Thank you. Say something.
Okay. Can I ask about the last assignment? Something?
Yes, I was going to say that eventually.
Okay.
This is a good time to say.
Okay.
The assignment I gave you, ask your question and then I will respond. Okay.
Okay. It says apply design thinking
Is it?
to comprehensive market plan. To prepare a comprehensive market plan, apply design thinking. So, shall we do only the design or the comprehensive marketing plan?
Okay. Thank you. That's a good question. You're asking whether we do the design first and then we do the plan. Okay. Let me address everyone apart from Eshete. Yes, I wanted you to do a market plan, and of course, I'm assuming that you have to consider some design aspects when you are doing the plan. And my idea of asking you to apply what we call design thinking is because today, design thinking is the direction most consultancies are going. I'll give, for example, that in a small team that we created something called the Design Thinking Institute here in Eldoret, a small town where I stay. And apparently, the moment you tell anybody that you are applying design thinking in doing anything, it gives you some kind of advantage. Because design thinking addresses solutions to problems, but from the eye of the user. Okay? So I know I've received the assignments from some of you. I'm not saying you need to take them back or anything, but one of them is not quite doing what I wanted. Of course, I'll not penalize you, but I wanted you guys, because you are executives in your own right, in the companies, in the organizations that you work for. My thinking was to ask you to develop a marketing plan, or a marketing plan for an enterprise that you have chosen, but on the basis you design more or less on the basis of looking at the solution from the eye or from the perspective or the standpoint of the user of the plan. That is the only thing that I wanted you to do.
Okay, so we should prepare the comprehensive marketing plan.
Yes, I want you to prepare a marketing plan. Don't write it in details, but just try to apply the design thinking. Basically, that's what I wanted you to think about.
Okay.
Yes, so
okay, thank you.
I know some of you wrote a message for me. Unfortunately, in the last 1 week, it has been very difficult for me because I had a seriously sick patient. And thank God that patient is improving. So slowly I'll begin answering your questions. Don't feel disappointed. Don't feel bad that I didn't answer your question. I'm going to do that from tomorrow moving forward. And now that I have a more relaxed mind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Kidis, you have a question? Or?
This is not Nile, doctor. Can I say something?
Yes.
Yeah, because I was the one who, just, trying to ask you about design thinking, by WhatsApp. Just, my thinking was about, there is empathy and just, by the seeing of the customers or by the shoes of the customers, we put our foot on the shoes of the customers. So when we do that, there should be something, we should do some survey to know or to understand what they want to do or what they want to buy from us or what want to get service from us. The first thing, so we should do some kind of survey or by our observation, my first question. The second one is, okay, after that, we can do that assumptions And the third one, in the process of design thinking, there is brainstorming. So whenever we talk about brainstorming, there is a discussion. There should be a group or a design thinking team, maybe. You know, let's say, for example, like in this class, I have my one workmate, maybe, you know, who can discuss with him these kind of things, or, you know, how we do it, you know, because, you know, the process is, you know, a little bit, you know, different. So we should brainstorming and finally prototyping and testing, you know. We can do that, but, you know, first we should get this survey, and then, you know, we should brainstorming each other, and we should get exactly what is the problem or what is the questions of the customers. After that, it's easy to do that. So that's why I was, you know, asking, or I'm worried about this. Yeah.
Thank you, Nathaniel. I think you have addressed yourself very well. I am not sure whether you will have the time, the resources to do all those things. So I just wanted you to model on your own, if it is possible. But as Nathaniel, and I know the organization you work for, if it is able to go, if it is going to help sort out issues in marketing, I would say we better take the time and the resources. If you are able to do it, I would be very happy. Of course, in terms of grading, but of course, I don't want to penalize somebody who is not able to do that. So I want to say, yes, Nathaniel and those ones of you are able to do that. You can proceed. It would be very nice to make a proposal to your manager and to the owners of the company and say, I have looked at the marketing from this point of view called design thinking, and I am happy to present this. Maybe, in fact, Nathaniel, I'm sure, if you approach your marketing plan from the user's point of view, your customer's point of view, and you move backwards, that's the whole essence of design thinking, you will likely produce a very interesting plan. Not for academic purposes only, but you can apply it and you will make even more profits for your company. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's 33 minutes past 7. We are supposed to have stopped at 30 past. Allow me to thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate your time. And I want to appreciate the commitment that you have had. I want to thank you very much for your time. Let's stop there. We'll continue on Friday looking at market research. We will approach it again from the point of view of practice rather than academics. Because at the end of the day, I would like us to have some skill set, competencies, rather than just having knowledge. So thank you very much for your time. God bless you. Have a nice evening. Take care. We say here, stay masked. So thank you so much. We'll see you on Friday.
Thank you, Doctor. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
ልዩነት መፍጠር ዓላማችን ነው። ዓለም አቀፍ ተወዳዳሪ መሆን አለባችሁ። የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ ጥራትና ደረጃውን የጠበቀ ስልጠና በመስጠት ብቁ ዜጋ እያፈራን ነው። በፍላይት ኦፕሬሽን፣ በበረራ መስተንግዶ፣ በቲኬቲንግና ሪዘርቬሽን፣ በሆቴልና ቱሪዝም ሙያዎች አሰልጥነን ተወዳዳሪ እናደርጉታለን። ኮሌጃችን ካናዳ ከሚገኘው ኢንተርናሽናል ኤር ትራንስፖርት አሶሲዬሽን አያታና ከእንግሊዙ ICM ጋር በመተባበር ዓለም አቀፍ ዕውቅና ያለው ስልጠና እየሰጠ ይገኛል። በፍላይት ኦፕሬሽን በበረራ መስተንግዶ የምንሰጣቸው ስልጠና ከኢትዮጵያ ሲቪል አቪዬሽን ባለስልጣን ሙሉ ዕውቅና አለው። አድራሻ ከጎላጉል ታወር 22 አደባባይ ወደ ሾላ በሚወስደው መንገድ ላይ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ ህልሞን እውን ያድርጉ።